Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Brawlhalla podcast known as Gravity Cancel. School is in session, and what better way to start the first day back to school than with a nice cold Voodoo Ranger. We have a new patch.
Coca-Cola for those youngins.
Coca-Cola for them youngins. We got a new patch.
We did. Let's talk a bit about back to school first, because it's much better than the patch was, the balance patch. We got 2 new skins this time around. It seems to be par for the course. We got a Taros one and a Mako skin. You like those?
I love both of them, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to get them because I've already got some of the best Taros skins in the game, so I don't necessarily need it, but I am very excited to see this Taro skin being used. I think we ran into one earlier when we were playing ranked.
We did. That was the first one I've ran into, and I haven't seen a baby Mako yet.
Oh my gosh, the baby Mako, the baby shark skin is the cutest thing I may have ever seen in this game.
I have a feeling when I do run into one, I'm going to get completely obliterated by it, because you have to be a diehard Mako fan to buy that.
Absolutely.
And I actually haven't ran into too many of the other skins yet, surprisingly. I ran into the Taros we ran into earlier, and then I think I've only ran into like one Gridiron Zol. I haven't seen any of the other ones.
Yeah, I don't run into a whole lot of other than the Lin Fei skin that came out last year, and then of course Rocker Volkov. All these, I would say Rocker Volkov's probably the most used.
Yes, people simp for him for whatever reason.
Half the people in our Discord.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so that's the good news. Also, the color's great. But the bad news with this patch, yeah, for sure. I've spent way too much, probably 30,000 or so gold this time around. But the bad part about this patch, in my opinion, was the balance patch. So this is the first balance patch we've gotten since, I believe it was May. May, which was the patch 5.07, was the last time we saw a significant balance patch. I suppose they didn't do any throughout the summer because of various tournaments, but this one will give enough time for people to adjust prior to BCX. So
I haven't actually read through these patch notes. I have played since it's came out. But yeah, we've briefly talked about some of the positives and negatives. Not that I know a whole lot, but you want to go ahead and start us off and let us have it?
So I wanted to start with the weapons that did not get touched this patch, and then we'll actually get into the weapons that got buffed or nerfed. So let's go through these really quick. Hammer, do you think it should have got touched? I think I know the answer to this.
Absolutely.
And I assume
I'm always down for Hammer being nerfed a little bit.
I think it's in an okay spot. It's not dominating. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, if it gives you trouble, it's just because it's Hammer. It's not because it's inherently strong, I don't think. Let's add a little disclaimer for everyone. This is our opinion, and it's okay to have opinions, regardless of what they say on the Brawlhalla subreddit.
It's true. You can have your own opinions. But if they don't align with ours, they're probably not very good opinions.
They're probably not very good, or you're actually good at Brawlhalla. One of the two.
Yeah, it's one of those two.
Blasters. What do you think about those? Are they in an okay spot?
Absolutely not. I think blasters need a buff.
They need something. So they got nerfed not too long ago, sometime last year maybe, where they got rid of one of the true combos.
I would almost like to see blasters get completely reworked like we saw with Cannon a while back.
Yeah, it's in a weird spot because it's got moves that lock you into place. That the moves have really good recovery, but they have so many active frames that you get punished if you miss them. So even though they're good on paper,
and you get knocked out of them a lot in 2v2s.
Yeah, they're horrible for 2s. You have to be really cognizant of where you're at on the map whenever you use blasters and 2s. I think it needs a buff as well, a pretty severe buff, or a complete rework, like you said. Rocket Lance did not get changed. What do you think?
I don't run into people using it as much. It's still annoying. Mostly just Artemis's lance, because those signatures I cannot stand. But I feel like I've gotten over my mid-gold struggle against lance phase. If they wanted to nerf it into the ground, go right ahead. Even though I barely see many lance players, I could always see less of them. So.
No, it's like once you break into like high 1500s, low 1600s, they just kind of disappear completely. And then they get replaced by Scythe users.
Yep. I was ready to talk about that.
Speaking of Scythe, it did not get buffed or nerfed. I completely disagree with that.
Absolute insanity. Let's not pretend like we haven't spent the last hour talking about this. Just the fact that Scythe didn't get touched.
And it's not that it's a strong weapon, it's that it has so many options. And I think that's what people struggle with in people that complain about Scythe is they're like, oh, well, it doesn't have any true combos and it relies on reads. Well, yeah, but you get rewarded for those reads far greater than any other weapon. Maybe cannon, because cannon can carry pretty far and gauntlets can carry pretty far. But you get rewarded for one read way more than you do with any other weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And it has attacks that cover like literally every direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's days where, like we were talking earlier, I went like 8 matches straight against Scythe. Now, I didn't lose all those matches. It was probably about 50% win rate. I lose some, I lost, or I won some, I lost some. But there's a reason that it has such a high play rate, because you don't get punished often, and it's just, like you said, just way too rewarding compared to other weapons.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to have bad matchups for weapons, to the point where it's like you need to switch off of it to counter a weapon. I think every Scythe player that I've encountered, they just rely only on their Scythe and don't touch their other weapon, with the exception of some Mordexes. Some Mordexes do rely on their gauntlets a bit, but
yeah,
not much. It's pretty much only until they can get their Scythe back.
Yeah. Now, another one, so you'll be surprised when I say this. I'm surprised Axe didn't get a little bit of a nerf. Because, yes, I do love Axe. It's probably my second favorite weapon if you count gauntlets. But I'm pretty shocked that it didn't get touched, because I will admit that it is a pretty brain-dead weapon.
So, it didn't get touched this patch or last patch. And I don't know if it needs more recovery. It swings very fast for a heavier, hard-hitting weapon. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of string together stuff that really punishes people for one wrong read. You can get side airs pretty easily, and then you're off the map and at the will of a recovery or a ground pound. I think a slight buff is needed for Axe, but not much.
Oh, no, I'm not saying buff. I'm surprised it didn't get nerfed.
Or, excuse me, a slight nerf is needed, but not much. It rewards you for the level of play that you play it at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
Bow, I'm okay with bow. I'm not getting changed.
Yeah, bow's all right. I just started learning it. I don't feel like it's necessarily good or bad or needs a buff or a nerf. If it needs anything, maybe a slight buff, but it's in a pretty good spot, I think, as someone who just started learning it.
I don't think I want to see an all-around buff for it, but maybe buff certain things about it and nerf certain things about it to make it less one-dimensional, because it's kind of like Spear in that people always approach the same way with it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do with it.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I think I'd like to see a little bit less effectiveness from the sidelight downlight, and maybe give inlight a little bit more of a buff. Mm-hmm. So decrease something with the sidelight and downlight, but make inlight hit a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. And then the last two that didn't get changed were Orb and Cannon. I'm actually okay with both of those. if anything, Orb could use a little bit of a buff, but not much. Cannon is in an okay spot.
Yeah, I agree. Cannon is what Scythe should be. It's harder to play, but it's very rewarding when you play it right. Versus, I feel like Scythe is easy bait combo Cannon.
Yes, exactly. It's like it can do the same stuff Cannon can, but it covers way more angles and it's less punishing to whiff with.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of same thing with Orb. Orb is, like Scythe, a bit more difficult to play than most weapons, but it's not as rewarding.
Yeah, Orb's kind of weird because it's like it's in a weird spot between being a string weapon and being like something like a sword, where you get one little combo off and then you kind of reset a bit.
Yeah.
Man, but when you run into someone that can carry you with Orb and get good reads, it's brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always fear for my life anytime I play a Fate and she picks up the Scythe, but then throws it off.
Throws it away.
You're like, oh no. Oh no.
Same with Petra. When I'm like, when you favor Orb on Petra, granted I did and I wasn't very good with it, but whenever you willingly throw away Gauntlets and give up that offstage presence, I know I'm in for a world of hurt when I'm standing in the middle of the map. So those are all the weapons that didn't get touched. I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't see some other changes for those, but I guess you can't adjust everything at once because you might break something.
Yeah. Now, for the weapons that did get nerfs or buffs, do you want to actually read off everything or the bullet points, or how do you want to approach talking about these?
So BMG gives like an explanation of what they did. Let's just look at the bullet points, and then if we want to know more about why they did it, we can read through their little paragraph there. Let's start with Gauntlets. So they changed Gauntlet Neutral Air that decreased the stun from 18 to 16 and increased damage from 8 to 11. So basically they made it easier to recover out of, either jump or dodge, but it hits a little bit harder. I think, man, hitting harder is probably an okay thing for that move. I'm glad they decreased the stun on it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people with Gauntlets, really good Gauntlet players, rely on neutral air. Even to start some certain combos, they'll punish with it.
And it's so versatile because it you can do that. What is it? D-light into grounded neutral air, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a brutal start because you don't know where you're going from there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big one for it. They decreased force on side air, which side air hits like a truck. So I'm glad they did that.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't like it as a Gauntlet player because that's such a fun KO option, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense.
And then decreased recovery stun from 26 to 23. I don't know. How do you feel about that one?
That's all right, I guess.
I don't think I ever need to dodge out of it. It's not something that I feel like I need to dodge out of.
Yeah.
The only time I really get hit by it is whenever I'm gonna die, so a dodge wouldn't really help. And then whenever people are recovering and they out-prioritize me. So that one I'm kind of met on. I agree with the neutral and side air changes.
Yeah, I don't feel like Gauntlets got hit too hard though. I feel like that is balancing. Something they should do to Scythe.
Yeah, something like that where it's where you're not completely changing the weapon, you're not rendering it ineffective, but you're making changes where you've got to work a little bit more for the same reward.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at Greatsword because this one's
a
weird
lot
to
of
me,
bullet
man.
points.
Yeah, so
this is probably barely understand the whole bridges thing, so I'm just gonna shut up and let you talk about Greatsword.
This is probably one where it's better to read through their paragraph than it is to read through the bullets because they changed how certain interactions between the different bridges go. So You want me to just read that paragraph?
Yeah, you go right ahead, buddy. Learn us today. We're back to school.
The setup location after a greatsword sidelight opener has been adjusted for greater consistency when performing from a dash, increasing the total range at which a neutral bridge will connect. So that's a slight buff in a sense. And granted, I'm not a greatsword player, so I don't know how much it actually impacted it, but to me it sounds good because I always had trouble approaching from the ground when I would play greatsword. Most greatsword finishers performed from a full string have had their force reduced, bringing their knockout power a bit closer in line with knockout tools on other weapons.
That I do like.
I think that's probably a good move because it's pretty easy to land one string with greatsword and make it kill. It's where you have to read and continue the string that greatsword gets kind of difficult. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think you should have the same knockout options at low health as signatures do at the same health.
Yeah.
These finishers will remain slightly stronger than those performed immediately after an opener or from a gravity cancel. So if you do the full string, a neutral light, side light, neutral light, or whatever, it will be stronger than doing like side light, or neutral light, where it immediately does the finisher, which is good. So I don't think it's that big of a nerf, but it's an unnecessary nerf because no one plays greatsword.
Yeah.
Like, why are you?
This should have got a huge buff. Almost
back to original.
Almost back to original. Not original, just almost back to original.
You could probably go.
Used to be a force to be reckoned with.
You could probably take almost everything back to original and just like leave the recovery where it's at.
Yes.
Because the recovery was what was not the only thing that was brutal, but the recovery was insanely brutal before.
Mm-hmm. I used to, whenever Mako came out, that's still when Greatsword was still pretty busted. I used to play Mako all the time, and I would just rely on trying to get him in the air and then just hitting him with recovery because it was so good.
It would kill at like medium orange.
Yeah.
From like almost grounded. It was insane. Take it back to something similar. Maybe don't, because I do remember people being able to string together multiple strings fairly easy from a dash cancel. Mm-hmm. Maybe leave that aspect of it where it's at. But yeah, give it a buff. Let people play it. Make it strong. Why not?
Yeah.
Speaking of buffing, so I sent you a video from Core A Gaming on why we should buff more than we should nerf. Did you get a chance to watch that?
I actually haven't yet. It was on the list of things to do today, actually.
So I haven't watched it in a long time, but it does go into why it's better for game balance and more fun to just buff things more than you nerf them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we got the opposite of that this patch. But yeah, so if any of the viewers out there haven't had the privilege of watching a Core A Gaming video, check it out. They put tons of fighting game content out that's very thought-provoking, and they bring other aspects other than fighting games into it to explain the points that they're trying to get across. So, highly recommend it.
It's a bit different it's a little bit different in Brawlhalla because like in games like, let's say, Destiny, for example, whenever I started playing, the game was 2-3 years old. And even still to this day, people will talk about like certain weapons and it's always, I remember when that was meta. I remember when that was meta. I remember when that was so good, because everything's been nerfed. Because it's one of those games where the community, if something comes out and it's better than average, they complain about it until it gets nerfed, and then years later everyone's like, why is nothing does any damage anymore, everything's nerfed to the ground. But in Brawlhalla, I feel like it's a little bit more, it stays a little bit more fresh, because one patch something gets nerfed to the ground and it stays there for 8 months to a year, and then suddenly they buff it again. So you can keep it fresh by rotating it, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh does with a ban list. Whatever's meta, if it's a little too meta, a little too good, they'll just outright ban some of those important cards in that 40 card deck to where without them, it's not even worth playing the entire deck. So people will drop that deck for a little while,
play something else.
Exactly, and then they'll release something a year later that's like the perfect matchup against it, and then they'll unban some of those cards, and then it'll completely switch the meta back around.
Yeah, but in a game like Brawlhalla, where it's like there's such a herd mentality, it feels like, and that's kind of what we're seeing with Scythe now. Is it's such a herd mentality that once people like catch wind of figuring out how to utilize it, it's like it's game over. That's all you see.
Yeah,
you know, and I understand like from a tournament perspective how dominant Gauntlets have been performing, which is kind of weird because it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, you know, I feel like I was hearing sword, and then out of nowhere it's like Gauntlets are strong.
Yeah, which it really the main Gauntlet players in the big leagues were just like the old Santee Simba team because they played double Val, but
right.
A lot of it was sword, and they would just, I've got Gauntlets now, I guess I'll go off with Gauntlets so I get the sword back. But lately, yeah, a lot more people have been playing Gauntlets.
Yeah, and that kind of came out of nowhere, but like, you know, now with Scythe, just everyone's like, oh, well, everyone else is playing, so I'm going to play it. And there's just this big herd mentality of now that's all you play against, or almost all you play against. Anyways, back to the patch notes, because this one really upset me. Katars. I don't feel like Katars were in like a place to really get nerfed, and it kind of got buff nerfed, but the nerfs outweighed the buffs. So Katar Neutralite increased stun of the final hit from 14 to 15, and the setup location is now slightly more vertical and sends the opponent towards that location sooner. So that's the little like neutral 3-hit combo thing.
Yeah.
Now they go almost straight up above you, and in doing so, they made it to where the in-light to D-light combo is either not true or it's harder to hit. I haven't played with it too much because I didn't really rely on that a whole lot. But
would
it's
that
like
help with? Would that make Caspian's? I think it's his down signature, where he throws the 3 daggers above his head. Would that make that?
It would make that better. Yeah. Yes. But a lot of like you got Caspians, it might help Lucians, but it feels like to me you hit them up too far to really have a good follow up. Because whereas before I could like come out with a side air and hit them with it, side air gives them a better chance to dodge now after a neutral light. So I feel like my options have decreased from that change, and increasing the stun hasn't really done much for me because it puts them in a more awkward position. And maybe I just haven't figured out how to utilize it properly. But one that really hurts is Sidelight. Decreased damage from 13 to 11. Okay, I mean, Katar has enough trouble building damage unless you get him stuck in a vortex, which, is almost impossible once you break out of mid-gold. And then slightly decreased momentum from movement such as a dash. So now it's harder to land your first Sidelight because you lose momentum, and then when you do land it, you do less damage. So, like, I don't know where they're going with this, because Katar, it's one of those weapons that, like, yeah, it's a string weapon, but you're never really afraid of dying from it.
Yeah, I feel like I've never feared Katars, other than like a couple people that I play with every once in a while that are really good with it. Like, I'm playing against Katars. Oh gosh. Or man, those Katars really just did work on me.
And even if they do, it's like the only kill option they really have, unless you're deep red, is a signature.
Yeah.
Like, they have to be so deep, or recovery. But if you just have them off the side of the map, I mean, your only option's like a side air, and they got to be so deep for a side air to actually kill with it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a good guitar player, and I'm pretending to be. But side air. Speaking of side air, decreased hit window from 5 to 4, increased recovery time from 0 fixed 17 variable to 1 fixed 17 variable, and decreased overall threat coverage. Okay, so you just took away one of my okay kill options. This one's frustrating to me, man.
It might be the weakest side air in the game. I feel like everything else is almost a guaranteed KO.
The only one that's close is bow.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And bow.
Yeah, because bow's down air I have a lot better luck killing with than I do the side air.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say bow and guitar are pretty weak as far as side airs go. And then guitar down air, decreased damage from a range of 2 to 20 to a range of 2 to 14. You decreased the max damage by almost a third. Like, and guitar doesn't have that much damage on down air.
Yeah.
So if you look at this, the only thing that didn't get touched in the guitar vortex was the downlight, which downlight's a good attack and is probably okay where it's at. But like, okay, my sidelight's weaker, my down air's weaker. What do I have now? Man, I don't know.
Maybe they're setting up to, in a future patch, really buff dexterity.
Or like completely rework dexterity.
Yeah, make it actually relevant.
Yeah, that would be interesting because I can see the need for like, if you change how dexterity works, I could see the need for some nerfs ahead of time before you do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I legit don't, like in the current, you could do that in that patch, right?
Yeah.
Unless they're just trying to figure out how it works now. But save that for that patch. Like, when's the last time you saw a guitar legend, other than like a Surrey, come close to winning a tournament?
None that I could think of. I think in Southeast Asia, there's a couple Queen Nai players. But even then, I think they're spear players. Speaking of spear, baby, we got a spear buff.
And well deserved, because spear's in such a weird spot, man.
Yeah. Which is weird. It's like, I see people complaining about spear on Twitter all the time. And I'm just like, guys, we have like two options whenever we're playing spear here. Leave us alone. I feel like they nerfed the side air a while back, didn't they?
Let me look in the last patch. I do feel like that. Yeah, so the last patch, spear side air reduced rear threat coverage and increased recovery time from 0 fixed to 3 fixed.
Nice.
So they gave it a little bit of
So now it went from the 3 fixed to a 1 fixed.
Yeah, so they made the recovery similar to what it used to be.
Yeah. Which,
that's probably the change they should have made last time.
Mm-hmm. Instead of one so drastic.
I'm perfectly okay with that. Like, I have zero complaints about that. I actually wish they would have done more with other moves for spear. Mm-hmm. All right, another like just complete. My brain hurts just thinking about why they did this. Sword. So, I feel like Sword is in a similar spot to Gauntlets, where it needs to be nerfed because it's been in meta for forever. Mm-hmm. And
but the thing about Sword is, I don't feel like it's game-breaking good or like game-changing good. It's just always one of those like in your toolkit decent weapons, and if you practice with it, you'll get really good with it, and you can outclass things like Scythe and Hammer and Gauntlets. But I feel like I think most of the decisions in this patch, especially Swords, mostly based off of professional play.
Right, which is kind of, I get it, you know, that's where all the eyes are. But man, you can't balance a game this big on professional play.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for the majority of the player base, and that's why you get weird stuff like Scythe being really dominant.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But anywho, so they took the neutral air, increased recovery time on miss from 0 fixed 24 variable to 2 fixed 24 variable, decreased the allowed acceleration during the attack. I mean, I don't feel like neutral air was... It's like a good option whenever people are coming from above, but I don't feel like it was the strong point of Sword or what made Sword great.
Yeah.
Same with down air. Similarly, decreased force from 52 fixed 32 variable to 52 fixed 28 variable. So it spikes less basically. Decreased stun 17 to 15 and increased recovery time on miss from 2 fixed 24 variable to 4 fixed 24 variable, and decreased the allowed acceleration during the attack. So they did the same thing to down air as they did neutral air basically.
If anything needed touched on Sword, it was down light into recovery.
Which it kind of does change that. Well, I guess it doesn't change that because they only changed it exhausted recovery.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like that's just such an easy KO option, and if there's anything lame about watching, professional matches, it's whenever someone's in the red against a Sword, it's always
it's
that
coming.
KO option. The casters always say, "Oh, all it's gonna take is a down light to get it started," and then boom.
Yeah, and for a weapon that's meta, like you can't have those easy ones.
Such an easy, almost completely unavoidable KO options.
Yeah, well, I mean, for other weapons, I think they're okay. Like for orb, side light into side air, it's true. But I don't see that as a problem KO option.
Yeah.
Same with blasters D-light into recovery.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an issue because that one actually takes, you actually have to put a little bit of work in to get that. It's not like an autopilot one.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they needed to change with Sword was neutral light, because the combination of neutral light, side light, and down light just gives you this massive advantage over a lot of things on ground. And then Sword also has a pretty dominant air game. So it looks like this patch was meant to address the air game of Sword a little bit, but I don't think that's where the problem existed.
Yeah.
I think you're still going to see plenty of Swords, Gauntlets, at high level play.
And way too many Scythes. Don't forget
And way too many. What's weird is you don't see Scythes at like the highest level of play, and that's why I think a lot of people are like downplaying the effectiveness of Scythe, because they're like, oh well, pros aren't using them. Well, no, but they're also playing at a completely different game than 99% of the population that's playing the game.
Yeah, the way they view the game and approaches, and it's whenever you start analyzing frame data, you're just a nerd, and I'm completely calling you out right now.
I don't analyze it. You're calling Cobalt out. That dude.
I'll only say that because if you do that, you're better than me, and I don't like that.
Anytime I have a question, I'm like, I bet Cobalt knows the answer to this. And then the last change, not a weapon, but they changed unarmed. Unarmed neutral light could easily break up some weapons' common strings without the use of a dodge. So they've increased the time to hit. They changed the time to hit from 4 to 5. I don't get it. Unarmed strong, but strong enough to change that? I don't know.
Yeah,
and the thing is, like,
fine where it is.
Yeah, I don't feel like anything about it really needed changed. I can assure you, at my level, no one's breaking up common strings with a neutral light unarmed.
Yeah.
And then, so that takes us through all the weapons. We have some legend changes.
We sure do.
Have you looked through these at all?
I have not. Petra.
Quite a few.
There are quite a few in here.
So, and there's one that I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, BMG?
Do you want to just go over like the notable ones, or are they all pretty?
No, I want to go through all of them.
All right.
I want to go through all of them. Hattori Side Sword. Increased stun of final hit from 17 to 28 and decreased total recovery time on hit from 31 to 20. That's the, like, she just goes, like, sideways, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that one as a Hattori player?
I like it. I think it's fine.
The increased stun is intriguing, and so that's overall a buff. Decreased total recovery time, cutting it by effectively a third there.
Much, yeah.
That's pretty significant change to recovery time.
And I always felt like that signature is bad. If anything, I love playing Hattori, but I always feel like late game I never have any good KO options because I feel like most of her signatures are just bad.
Very punishable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that change will probably make it less punishable. So I haven't really noticed it, but we'll see. Koji Downbow. Decreased overall horizontal threat coverage, especially near the user, and increased minimum charge time from 5 to 7.
Is that the tatami mat? Like he kicks it up and
the little board thing?
Yeah.
The wooden plank? Yeah. What'd you call it?
Tatami mat?
What the heck is that?
It's the wooden mat you put underneath a futon for like a Japanese floor bed.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a caster called it that. Kept calling it a tatami mat like a year ago, and I've instead of just like a wooden plank or a board, I've been calling it that ever since.
I figured you learned that from some weird anime or something.
Oh my god.
Some anime about sleeping.
Yeah, that's sleeping animes are the best. My favorite anime.
right behind food anime.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they changed that. They nerfed Downbow. I feel like that was probably his strongest bow signature. I mean, the other two are good, but they're very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And that signature kind of served multiple uses. So, I'm indifferent on it. Screw Koji players. I'm a bit upset about this one. So, Core Neutral Hammer. Increased minimum charge time from 5 to 10.
Good.
And decreased total recovery time from 20 to 18.
Good.
So, I understand why you're doing this. Because you're trying to make it so downlight into neutral sig is not true. But there's still characters out there that have a true downlight to neutral sig. So if you're going to change that one for a legend that, I mean, I never see cores, why not change it for the ones that we do see? Like, I think Taros has one that's true, unless they changed that already.
I think they did change that one a while back.
Oh, they did? Cassidy's is true, right?
Yes. The rope.
Yeah, and Cassidy, I mean, you don't see Cassidy any more or less than you do core, so I don't know. It's okay, I guess, but if you're trying to make it so people don't have true signature combos, then remove them all. All right.
See, this next one I don't understand. Why would they nerf Mako?
Well, because they had to nerf Katars and greatswords. So not only did Mako get hit on the weapon front, Mako's down signature on greatsword got nerfed, which I would say it probably needed it, just not in conjunction with the weapon changes.
Yeah, that is a pretty hard hit. That is a KO if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. So it takes longer to charge. Damage is decreased and force is decreased, and time to hit's increased. Man, that is. Whew. The explanation was Mako's down greatsword provided too much power for its overall coverage. Well, yeah, but I mean, Mako's not that great. Let Mako have her fun. All right, hit me with this Mordex one.
It's beautiful, actually. It's Mordex down gauntlets, increased total recovery time on miss to 19 to 22. We should nerf Mordex every time we get a chance.
The problem is that Mordex mains literally only signature when they're already salty and losing.
Yeah, that's also pretty true.
I don't think I've seen a Mordex pop a sig on first stock ever.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been Scythe that got nerfed. His Scythe signatures, because I feel like his Gauntlet signatures are some of the worst Gauntlet signatures.
I would agree with that. His Scythe signatures are definitely far superior.
Mm-hmm.
Far superior. Onyx. Ooh, we got 2 changes for Onyx. Down gauntlets. That's the stone one, right? Where she turns to stone.
Yes.
Increased total recovery time on miss from 25 to 28. Slightly decreased.
Wait, no, the one where she turns to stone, that's canon.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's canon.
Down gauntlets is when she just slams the ground.
Okay, yeah. Total recovery time 25 to 28, and slightly decreased overall horizontal threat coverage. I don't know. I mean, her signatures aren't even that great in general.
Yeah.
The only time it's actually I've had some trouble with that. Off stage, that down gauntlet signature can be scary, especially if you do it backwards, back towards the map.
Yeah, that's a good one. You're always in trouble when that lands.
Yeah, that one's never fun to get hit by. And then Onyx side cannon, increased total recovery time on miss from 24 to 26, and slightly decreased maximum vertical and horizontal threat coverage. So, well, yet again, another nerf. Hit me with Petra.
Do I have to talk about it?
It's not even that bad
neutral
compared to others.
Increased total recovery time from 22 to 24.
That's not even that bad of a change. I do agree that it's unnecessary. But man, that move hits like a truck.
She was perfect the way she was.
Dude, Rayman literally has 5 different changes.
Yeah, I can't believe Rayman got hit so much.
So let's
I
just
don't know if he got hit,
these.
but so much change.
No, the flavor of this patch was nerf.
Yeah.
Side axe recovery time on miss 18 to 21, so that's an increase. Down axe increased minimum charge time, increased recovery time, and increased recovery time for the on hit and grounded versions. So all recovery times basically got changed for down axe, and decreased force, but they increased the damage. So it'll serve you a little bit better earlier on, and will not be as good of a KO option.
I'm gonna start playing Rayman a little bit more.
Yeah, you had some pretty good luck with him earlier.
Yeah, signatures are still hot garbage.
But man, it's your two weapons you love.
I know.
And then gauntlets. Give me those gauntlets.
Let's see. Increased damage of the tap version from 20 to 22. Increase the force of the tap version from 50 fixed, 50 variable to 55 fixed, 52 variable. Rayman side gauntlets. Increased damage of the tap version from 20 to 22. Increased force of the tap version from 50, 50 to 55, 52.
So basically, the 2 little ones where he shoots out his gauntlet
Little bit
got a little bit better without fully charging, which I think is probably a pretty good move, because unless you can get a full charge on those are useless.
Yeah, and the higher you go up in ELO, the harder it is to get away with charging up any signature.
Right. So I think that's some good changes there. Actually, I probably agree with Rayman's changes the most out of any of these.
Yeah, which I don't know. I've not looked at the rest of them. We'll get through and decide.
Sentinel down Katars. Oh, what do you know? More Katar nerfs. Decreased damage from a range of 28 to 24 to 22, and changed force from a range of 45 fixed, 48 to 44 variable to a 45 fixed, 48 variable. So it's just changing the force from a range on variable to just a fixed value on variable, if that makes any sort of sense.
No, not to me.
So you're reducing the damage on down Katars, which is the one where he like slams it into the ground, which I've never thought hit too hard, but whatever. I've just accepted the fact that BMG doesn't like Katars or Katar Legends.
It's true. Somebody that works there got caught in one vortex and was like,
one little vortex.
Never again.
They're like, this weapon's so strong. Neutral hammer increased recovery time from 17 to 21, and down hammer decreased total recovery time from 31 to 26. I've always felt like Sentinel has some of the like most lackluster signatures in the game. Mm-hmm. They're not fun to use. I'm rarely afraid of getting hit by them. So, sure, do whatever you want to Sentinel. Just make him more fun to play. Right, hit me with Taros.
Taros. So, neutral hammer, which if I am not mistaken, I think that's the one where he reaches up with the hammer and throws you behind him. I'm not 100% sure. But increased minimum charge time from 10 to 11, increased damage from 18 to 24. Let's go more damage. Taros side hammer, reduced threat coverage towards the rear of the attack. That makes sense. Taros down axe, increased recovery time from 24 to 26. I already felt like Taros's recovery was dog water, but I mean, I see where it's coming from because he does hit like a truck. Anything that hits that hard should be a little slower.
Yeah, but you made his neutral hammer like hit way harder.
Yeah. But no one really uses that signature as much.
No, they don't. So I guess that's okay. You know, Taros is one of those ones that he already hits like a truck. So I feel like any changes as far as making damage, making him do more damage, it makes me scared. All right, so here we go. Why would you do this one? Thatch neutral blasters. Increased minimum charge time from 9 to 12. Did Thatch really need any changes at all, whatsoever?
Maybe a little buff, but...
But no, you're going to go nerf.
Nobody's safe.
You didn't... No, but yeah, literally nobody's safe. You didn't touch blasters to make them better. You made sword worse. And then you take... He's probably one of the lowest play rate legends. He's definitely probably the top, or in the bottom, probably 10 or 15, I would guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then you just go and nerf him for no apparent reason. Let me see. 1, 2... I'm referring to stats.brawlhalla here. .fr. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Thatch is like bottom 12 as far as play rate goes.
That does not surprise me.
Tied with Lin Fei. And, you know, Lin Fei got an indirect nerf. But, I don't know. His neutral blaster sig, I wasn't a big fan of anyways, and now I'm even less of a fan of it, so. We got 3 more. Hit me with the Val.
With the Val? All right. Val neutral sword. Increased total recovery time on miss from 24 to 26. Decreased overall horizontal threat coverage. I'm trying to think. The neutral sword is the one where she jumps up in the air and does like the slash.
Yeah. Yep.
That's going to make me a lot worse with Val. I'll tell you that right now.
I mean,
that was the main signature that I would use. But
yeah, but she's got both really good weapons, so changing her signatures, making them a little less viable, I'm okay with. Mm-hmm. And that's not too big of a change, I don't think. That's not one of those signatures that I'm really afraid of with Val. I think it's the 2 down sigs that really get me sweating.
The recovery time doesn't bother me as much as the overall horizontal threat coverage does.
Yeah, so it's gonna be way harder to hit. Mm-hmm. Volkov side Scythe. This is the only Scythe change in this patch. What did we get here? What did we get? A decreased stun of the final hit for both versions from 31 to 25. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't have the slightest clue what Volkov's signatures actually are.
They're also weird and all over the place. I can't picture one. I can picture all of them, but I can't tell you which one's which.
Yeah, I can't tell you what's what. I know. Okay, so this isn't the. Oh, this is the one where he like shoots the bats out of his cape.
Okay.
So decreased stun on the final hit from 31 to 25. I'm perfectly okay with that. And decreased force of the active input version because he can make you go. I think it's forward instead of backwards. Decrease the force from 55-52 to 50-50. So decrease on both fixed and variable stats. Perfect. That's fine. But like Volkov's probably the least played of the Scythe Legends. He's probably one of the least played, I'm sure.
Recently he got a lot of extra play because Sandstorm used him quite a bit. Usually you don't see a lot of Volkov unless you're playing
unless you're playing Kung Fu.
Yeah.
In which case he's top tier.
Top tier.
Yeah, I guess with Sandstorm playing him at a high level and then couple that with Rocker Volkov simps, and you got a recipe for disaster as far as people picking up a disgusting legend.
Yeah.
In theory, Volkov should be like the best performing.
Yeah, Axe and Scythe sounds terrifying, but it's not.
It's terrifying in the right hands, but you never see that happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Usually Volkov players don't play Axe, from what I see.
No. And I feel like his Axe is really strong, actually. Ulgrim.
Side Rocket Lance, decreased recovery time from 28 to 24 for the ground landing. That's fine. I feel like Ulgrim's dog water, so he needs a little help.
But, yeah, actually, I think all of his Lance signatures need help. His Axe is good, but his Lance signatures are a bit rough.
See, I don't even like his Axe signatures.
When you compare them to the Lance signatures, it's like day and night. Like, I feel like I actually have signatures when I'm playing Axe on Ulgrim as opposed to the Lance. All right, what else happened in this patch? Anything else worth talking about?
I don't think so. But this week's free Legends, which ends in like 2 days, Bryn's on there, so boys, go play with the greatest legend of all time.
Oh yeah, Yumiko. Yeah, you're right. Yumiko is on there.
You're about to catch these hands.
You know, I didn't realize how few Bryn players there actually are until I started thinking about it earlier, because I fought a Bryn in ranked, and I think it's the first Bryn that I fought in ranked in probably a month.
I know.
I've ran across quite a fit. I've ran across quite a bit of Yumiko players. Quite a fit. What else? I mean, look at all these disgusting Scythe legends on the free legends. Jiro and Nyx.
Yeah.
Absolutely gross. Yeah, I think that's about it. So we did have some BMG coins to give away. Another $10 for participating in the comment giveaway on episode 12, where you had to tell us your favorite, or not your favorite, your build a legend. So we had Cobalt, X-Robot, and Robert participating. And we gotta up these numbers, guys. Get in the comments. Actually, I don't have anything to. What are your overall thoughts? What are your overall thoughts on the patch? If you drop it down in the comments below, we'll get you in the next giveaway. Did you like it?
Bad patch? Great patch?
Yeah. Did Scythe need a nerf? Scythe absolutely needed a nerf. If you tell me that Scythe needed a nerf, I might give you a secret second entry.
Yeah, you'll win. You'll win. You can complain about Scythe with us.
All right. So I got Cobalt, Robert, and X-Robot on here. We're going to click to spin.
And the winner is...
And the winner is... Robert.
Let's go. Air horns.
Oh my gosh. It really annoys me that on this Wheel of Names website, I don't think you can change it to be silent, because you get this really weird clapping afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I used to use that on stream all the time when I did giveaways.
You get the clapping, and then I think someone at the end... I'm going to spin again really quick, just to make sure I'm not lying to the audience. You get clapping, confetti, and there's like someone that goes, whoa!
It's a little extra.
Man, someone got really hyped for that sound clip.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't have any more information about our tournament yet, other than it will be October 23rd, right?
Yep. Oh, wait. Yeah.
It will be October 23rd. It will be a $300 cash prize split between first, second, and third place. And it'll likely be double elim, normal bracket type stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
1v1, US East, tournament rules. And I think we're going to try to have the bracket or the sign up available with the release of the next podcast, episode 14.
Let's get after it.
And don't want to spoil it too much, but we might have a episode 15 guest locked in.
Oh, yep, no spoilers, but it's a big one.
No spoilers, but I'm excited about this one. I was very excited about Baron. I was very, very excited about Cobalt. I am very, very, very excited about this one.
Every one of them's a blast.
They're my favorite episodes. I like coming up with the questions and kind of just taking a break from talking about the poor decisions by BMG and patches.
It's always just the balance patch. Everything else, though.
Everything else is great. Just figure out your balances, please.
All right. Well, I did the intro. Hit us with an outro.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning into another episode of the longest-running active Brawlhalla podcast, Gravity Cancel.
This man is so salty about Koslik starting a podcast.
Hey, as long as we're pumping out episodes, I can claim we're the longest-running active podcast for Brawlhalla.
I guess technically, yeah.
Someone's going to come into like our comments and be like, no, there's this podcast called InSig by these two really cool guys that have been doing it since 2015. And I'll be like, no! Why'd you take that from me?
But they just release one episode a year.
Yeah, just one a year. Oh, that would be so horrible. They just do a year-end recap. It's like a 4-hour episode.
So back in March, they actually nerfed.
Spoiler alert for later. In September, they buffed it. Anywho, yeah, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Gravity Cancel Podcast. Be sure to check out our Showdown series. We're about a third of the way through the Legends now.
Yep.
And then at the end of it, yeah, it's been fun. And at the end of it, someone's going to have to pony up some money. Or maybe we both have to pony up some money to charity. So be sure to tune into that. Check out the drip polls on subreddit r/Brawlhalla on the Reddits. And we just released a new series called Cranked, where we play ranked 2v2, and we pick the opponent or the legends that the last opponents used, and we fight over who plays who.
And if you like the way that Showdown's edited, I feel like Cranked is a little funnier.
Cranked is like Showdown, but on steroids.
Exactly. All right. Well, fare ye well, everybody.
Fare ye well, and catch you on episode 14. Bye.
And if you're 21 or older, drink Voodoo Ranger.
Hashtag
not a sponsor of this podcast. Not a sponsor. Hashtag not an ad.
I'm going to go crack one myself.